In every human connection, we long for something deeper than affection. We long for alignment. Not just physical closeness, but emotional partnership. Not just being loved, but being supported. And one of the clearest signs that someone is truly right for your life is this: they never make you feel like you're alone in the fight. The right person won't let you carry the emotional weight of the relationship by yourself. They won't let you struggle in silence. They won't watch you try to fix things alone and call it love. Because when someone genuinely values you, they show up not just when it's easy, but when it's hard. Not just when things are fun, but when life requires effort, presence, and responsibility. Too often, people confuse effort with chasing. They confuse persistence with proving. They pour themselves into someone who meets them with distance, avoidance, or silence. And that imbalance becomes their norm. They begin to believe that love must always come with struggle, that emotional labor is part of the price they must pay to be chosen, to be kept, to be seen. But the truth is, love that makes you feel alone isn't love, it's an echo of your own effort. It's you projecting care into an emotional void. The right person does not make you earn their presence through suffering. The right person recognizes that love is a mutual act, a rhythm of two hearts stepping in sync, not one heart dragging the other behind it. You should not have to beg to be heard. You should not have to over-explain just to be understood. You should not have to repeatedly prove your worth to someone who claims to care. When the relationship is right, there's balance. There's initiative from both sides. There's a shared responsibility to nurture the bond, protect it, and grow it. Why do we often settle for less? Why do we stay in spaces where we're constantly fighting to be chosen? A big reason is conditioning. Many people grow up learning that love must be earned. That if you're not being met with equal effort, you just need to try harder. This mindset, although rooted in loyalty and hope, becomes dangerous when it's applied to people who have no intention of showing up. It leads to cycles of overfunctioning where you do all the emotional work, carry all the relationship weight, and mistake their minimal participation as love. But love isn't silent when you cry. Love doesn't disappear when conflict comes. Love doesn't leave you carrying the burden alone. In a healthy relationship, conflict does not signal abandonment, it signals a chance to understand each other better. Disagreement does not end with disconnection, it ends with deeper respect. The right person knows that emotional safety means showing up when it's inconvenient. It means listening when they're tired. It means being accountable when they're wrong. They know that a relationship is a team, not a performance. It's not about one person doing the emotional heavy lifting while the other enjoys the benefits. It's about being there, side by side, not front and back. We must also look at emotional availability as a key sign of readiness. Many people are physically present, but emotionally absent. They're there in the room, but nowhere in the connection. They hear your words, but don't listen to your pain. They acknowledge your needs, but don't take action to meet them. Emotional availability means someone is willing to hold space for you, willing to grow with you, and willing to repair with you, not just retreat every time things get hard. When you're with the right person, effort feels natural. Not perfect, but mutual. Love is not proven in the good times, it's revealed in the difficult ones. Anyone can say they care when things are light. But will they still stand by you when things get heavy? Will they still work through misunderstandings, face discomfort, and take ownership of their flaws? If not, then what you have is not partnership, it's proximity. And proximity without participation is a recipe for emotional burnout. Let's talk about what happens when you keep fighting alone. You begin to erode your own self-worth. You begin to shrink your needs to accommodate someone's absence. You start to silence your voice because every time you speak up, you're met with deflection or blame. You start accepting less, not because you're okay with it, but because you've become too tired to keep demanding more. And eventually, you begin to forget what being loved in a healthy way even feels like. That's not love. That's survival. You deserve more than survival. You deserve reciprocity. The kind of love where your emotional energy is returned, not drained. The kind of partnership where you don't just feel tolerated, you feel treasured. Where you don't question your place, you feel secure in it. And that kind of love isn't just about finding the right person. It's also about becoming the person who no longer fights to stay where they're not met with equal fire. So how do you begin to break the pattern of fighting alone? First, you have to admit it's happening. You have to stop romanticizing their potential. You have to look at their patterns, not their promises. People will say anything in the moment, but their consistency or lack of it is the truth. If they only show up after threats, if they only care when you pull away, if their effort only exists in cycles of guilt, then they're not fighting for you, they're managing their control. Second, you need to recognize that love without action is manipulation. Words are easy. Anyone can say they care. But the right person proves it. They remember what matters to you. They check in when you're quiet. They notice when your energy changes and ask how they can support you. They don't wait until you break down to start showing up. They show up because that's who they are, not because you force them to, and that makes all the difference. Next, you must rebuild your boundaries. Boundaries are not walls, they are clarity. They say, I love myself enough to not keep chasing people who won't meet me halfway. They say, if you're not willing to grow with me, I will grow without you. And they remind you that your peace is not up for negotiation. Fighting alone often means your boundaries are too flexible. You give second, third, fourth chances to people who prove over and over again that they're not invested. It's time to stop handing out access to people who are not committed. Healing also requires grieving. You have to grieve the hope you had, the version of them you wanted to believe in, the dream you carried for the relationship. Letting go of someone who never fully showed up feels like giving up on something precious, but in reality, you're letting go of the illusion. You're releasing the pain of constantly trying. You're creating space for something better, something healthier, something mutual, and don't let loneliness trick you into returning to imbalance. Being alone and at peace is better than being together and exhausted. It's better to rebuild in solitude than to shrink in companionship. Real love won't require you to sacrifice your identity. It won't ask you to apologize for your needs. The right person will fight with you, not against you, and certainly not without you. You also need to understand what emotional maturity looks like. It looks like accountability, not excuses. It looks like ownership, not blame. It looks like growth, not guilt, tripping. When someone loves you, they don't make you feel bad for expressing your hurt. They lean in, they ask how they can do better. They don't run from responsibility. They run toward resolution. That is how the right person fights, not with anger, but with commitment, not with silence, but with communication. As you continue your growth, remember that your role is not to save people from themselves. It's not to convince someone of your value. It's to know your value so clearly that you never again stay where love has to be earned through suffering. You don't need to be anyone's project. You need to be someone's priority. The right person won't wait until you're burned out to realize your worth. They'll see it from the start, and they'll work to protect it. Your healing begins when you stop seeing withdrawal as normal. When you stop thinking love is pain. When you stop excusing someone's absence as just the way they are. You start healing when you decide you're no longer the only one keeping the connection alive. And when that shift happens, your entire world begins to change. Because the right person, the one who's emotionally ready, aligned with your growth, and committed to the process. They will not let you fight alone. Not because you demanded it, but because to them, love isn't love unless it's shared.